Welcome to Mr. Hutchings History, where the past comes alive. Let's dive into today's story.
Hey everyone, buckle up, because today we're taking a deep dive into the legacies of two absolute titans of the civil rights movement, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr.
And you might think this is old news, but trust me, there are always new layers to uncover.
Right. And we're diving deep into a Mr. Hutchings History podcast episode that completely shifted how I see these two icons.
It's so interesting how often they're presented as polar opposites,
Totally.
But when you peel back the layers, you see how their approaches, they're almost like threads in this intricate tapestry of the fight for Black liberation.
Yeah, and the episode throws a curveball right away. The Nation of Islam. You immediately think religion, but wow, it was such a powerful force, especially in the thick of segregation.
It's about understanding the context, right? Jim Crow laws are in full effect, actively dismantling the humanity and rights of Black Americans. And then the Nation of Islam emerges with this incredibly powerful message. They urge a complete rejection of Christianity. Think about it, the very religion often used to justify their oppression.
Wow.
And they're embracing Islam. But it wasn't just a religious conversion. It was about self-reliance, economic independence, carving your own path forward.
It's like a direct line to some movements we see even today, right? That emphasis on economic empowerment as the key to unlocking true liberation.
Exactly. It's about building your own future instead of begging for scraps from a system that's rigged against you. And the Nation of Islam, they didn't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. Imagine this, the 1950s, the 60s, they were out there encouraging, promoting Black-owned businesses.
Wow.
Because they understood that economic power. That's how you challenge the very foundation of segregation.
It's honestly incredible. Talk about courage, right?
Right.
Not just dreaming of a different reality, but actively building it brick by brick, business by business.
And that's where a figure like Malcolm X comes onto the scene. Joins the Nation of Islam while he's in prison, and his rise is meteoric. His speeches, electrifying. People flocked to hear him, and he ignited something within them.
He became the voice of a generation, right?
Absolutely, a generation yearning for change.
And here's where we start to see that contrast with Martin Luther King Jr. emerge, right?
Absolutely.
With his unwavering belief in nonviolence, preached love, integration.
Right.
Malcolm X, at least initially. He saw white people as inherently oppressive, advocated for Black self-defense, even armed resistance. Two very different approaches.
Two very different approaches driven by the same intense desire for freedom and equality. So easy to get caught up in the differences,
Yeah.
But what always gets me is that raw conviction, that fire in their bellies. Both Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., they believed, truly believed, in the absolute necessity of Black liberation.
They just had completely different roadmaps to get there.
Exactly.
Malcolm X, he was like a bolt of lightning.
Oh, absolutely.
Calling for a revolution, not reconciliation.
Yep.
He wanted to empower Black people to seize control, to create their own destiny, separate, apart from the systems designed to hold them down.
You can feel that anger, that frustration just pouring out of his speeches.
Oh, yeah.
And the podcast actually quotes him, and it's powerful. He's talking about King's message, right? The "we shall overcome" idea.
Yeah.
And Malcolm X says, whoever heard of a revolution where they lock arms singing "we shall overcome"? You don't do that in a revolution.
Wow.
He believed true liberation meant dismantling the system, not trying to integrate into a system that was inherently designed to keep Black people oppressed.
And then on the flip side, you have Martin Luther King Jr. preaching nonviolent resistance, drawing on Gandhi, his Christian faith.
It's such a stark contrast.
Such a contrast.
Yeah.
But just as powerful.
Oh, absolutely. King, he just had this unwavering belief in the power of love, moral righteousness, that even the deepest hatred couldn't stand against that.
Yeah.
His "I have a dream" speech. It wasn't just about ending segregation. It was about a complete societal transformation where Black and white children would walk hand in hand. Judgment based on character, not skin color. It's a powerful image.
It's amazing to me how both these men, these completely opposing tactics, they ignited something.
Right.
King with this message of love and forgiveness, and Malcolm X, the self-defense, the Black empowerment. But they both tapped into something so deep within the African-American community.
That's the thing about social movements. Nothing's ever simple.
Right.
People are complicated. Their experiences are diverse.
Right.
And the solutions, they need to reflect that.
Yeah.
What I like about this podcast is that it embraces that complexity. It dives right in, like with Malcolm X's Ballot or the Bullet speech.
Oh, that's a big one. Misinterpreted, I think, so often. People hear violence when it's really about self-determination.
Exactly. This speech, this is Malcolm X's philosophy evolving in real time.
Yeah.
He's urging Black Americans, get politically active, make your voices heard through the ballot box.
Right.
But, and this is crucial, there's this underlying warning.
Yeah.
If they keep getting denied basic rights, if the system fails them.
It's like he's saying, look, this is where we are.
Yes. He's saying the bullet might be the only option left.
It's a powerful statement, but listening to it, it's not about inciting anything. It's about expressing the frustration, the sheer desperation of a community that's been pushed and pushed.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Even as he's advocating for Black self-reliance, directly challenging white supremacy,
Yeah.
his views on white involvement, they start to change.
Really?
He starts talking about the possibility of allies, of white people who can leverage their own privilege to help dismantle the system.
Yeah.
It's like he's seeing that it's not so black and white anymore, that there's shared humanity in the struggle.
It's fascinating to think about his evolution, right? Getting more nuanced. But as the podcast mentions, that direct, fiery rhetoric, that challenge to white supremacy, it really rubs some people the wrong way.
It's that deep-seated fear that Malcolm X evoked, especially among white America.
Yeah.
And the media played a huge role in shaping that narrative.
Oh, absolutely.
He was dangerous, a radical, a threat to, the very fabric of society.
Right.
Which is interesting when you compare it to how they talked about King.
Oh, yeah. Night and day.
King was often presented as this peaceful, almost unthreatening figure to white audiences.
Right. It makes you wonder how things would have played out if social media was around then, right?
Oh, wow.
Would Malcolm X's message have reached more people? Or would it have been totally drowned out?
That's such a good question. And it speaks to the power of these platforms today, right?
Yeah.
They can either amplify marginalized voices, challenge those dominant narratives,
Right.
or just become these echo chambers that solidify the divisions that already exist.
It's a double-edged sword, for sure.
Yeah,
But even with all that fear, the media spin, his message resonated.
absolutely.
Groups like the Black Panthers, right? That emphasis on Black pride, self-reliance, even armed self-defense. You can see his fingerprints all over that.
Malcolm X's legacy goes way beyond just his words. He sparked something.
Yeah.
Whole generation, tired of waiting for equality that never seemed to come, he gave them a blueprint.
For real.
Black empowerment, self-determination. It still resonates today.
He and King, they both, in their own way, they redefined what it meant to fight for justice, I think.
Right.
They forced America to look in the mirror,
Yes.
to face that ugly truth of its own racism. And in doing so, they paved the way for the movements we see right now.
It's incredible. Their impact, it didn't end with them, right? It continues.
Absolutely.
They push us to think critically, to question things, never stop fighting for a more just world.
It's been such an amazing conversation.
Yeah, really powerful.
I'm just left feeling so much gratitude for them, their courage, their brilliance, that unwavering dedication to justice.
They're such an inspiration.
They remind us this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes.
And there's not just one path to liberation.
Absolutely.
So it's on us, right? To keep fighting, to honor their legacy, to make sure everyone can breathe free.
Absolutely.
To everyone listening, remember this. Take their words with you, that courage, that vision, that unwavering belief that we can create change.
Together.
Because the fight's not over.
Mm.
And it's up to each and every one of us to pick up the torch and keep moving forward.
Thanks for listening to Mr. Hutchings History. Keep exploring, and we'll see you next time.